you what, I love you all.
No hope. No hope for Hillel. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast. Coming to you live all the way from Tennessee. Yes, in the cabin. That's right. About to roast. It's a good thing if you're cold because we got some flames. That will fly. Here we go. We're in the middle of chapter 6. We're in the middle talking about the Midah of Zrizos. And we just started talking about no, we didn't start talking about it, but we were talking about what happens to a person when they give themselves to this laziness that ultimately eats them. You see, we were put in this world to work hard. God did not put us here so we can just chill. Life is good. Obviously, life is good, but we are meant to work hard. We're not supposed to slack off and live our life in a way that we're just supposed to take as much pleasure as we possibly can before moving on to the next world. There are consequences to a person's action. When a person passes up on their responsibility, there will come a day where they will ruin themselves in this world and in the next world. Now, here's the craziest thing: laziness and lethargicism, they are the type of diseases, spiritual diseases, that eat away a person inside, like a cancer. As in, they're there in its inception and exists with all of us, but if you give it a little water and sunlight and you let it fester, it ends up consuming the person so much. And now the other faculties of man will start to defend and to reinforce, to maintain the person's laziness of ways. It only gets worse as you get older. So first we started talking about the unbelievable trait of human rationalization. That a person's going to start to, we call it excuses, right? First it's like, but it's so far. It's this, it's that. There's an obstacle in my way. And then comes the rationalization where they start to come up with logical proofs and reasonings as to why they can't operate in the way, whatever it is, just to avoid themselves from going and doing what they know, little pen, they know they got to do ultimately, right? I'll sleep a little. It's hard for me to get out of the house. I took my shirt off. How can I put it back on? It's very hot outside. It's very cold outside. It's rainy, blah, 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 blah. Through indolence, the ceiling will cave in, and through the inferior handiwork, it will leak. The cracks in the dam until the entire thing will totally, totally implode. So, we're going to continue on page 40. We're in the middle of the page, talking about how this lazy, indolent person, he relies on faulty logic to justify himself. Because what is self-preservation? We are human beings who want to self-preserve, and when we're doing things that are wrong, we hate more than anything what we call Jewish guilt. You don't want to feel bad about yourself. And a person doesn't want to feel bad about themselves. You have two options. Number one is, well, you have three options. Number one, obviously, is then don't feel bad about yourself, because turn your behavior around, start acting like a normal person, and start growing and get on with it. Woohoo! But the other two options are: number one is I can numb myself, completely turn off the mind. I become brain dead, where I dive into technology and TikToks and Netflix, which I love the most, or I start getting involved in heavy drugs to the point where, like, there's no brain power left to think about anything else because I've totally distracted myself. The other thing, we have the intellectual who will now start to come up with complex, logical reasons as to why I can do whatever I want to do. I don't want to feel bad about myself, so rather than admitting what is wrong, I distort right from wrong and I start to explain to myself, to confirm, to pat myself on the back, why I can't do what I want to do. And I see this a lot, especially in Hillel. Opportunity to grow? No, thank you. I have this.
You're out loud. You're out loud.
You're public now.
So we got the
Okay.
faculty there.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Hi.
Hi.
No, just FYI.
No, that's fine. I'm saying the culture.
I know it doesn't care either.
You
I'm
want
just
to, you want to find, I want to write a book on Hillel excuses. Anything in the entire world as to not work hard because mommy and papi are going to pick up my slack for me in life. It is unbelievable to the extent that the kids in that school will go to avoid having to do hard work, which is what? Look at yourself in the mirror. It's incredible, and it's a disease. It spreads amongst people, right? You want to be different, then you ostracize yourself from the crowd. And every single person, they do what's important, what satisfies me first. Everything else. And then they lie to themselves like this. This is what they say. Oh, I work hard at school. I work really hard to get into a certain program. I work really hard to set up this house party. Because in their head, I'm a hard worker because I do a bunch of things. But the reality of it, the root of it is I'm doing these things because I'm putting in so much effort to avoid and distract myself from what really matters and what's really important in life. And at the root of that is a laziness. Because it takes a lot of energy and effort to come up with crazy excuses as to why I can't do things. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort. But at the root of it is laziness. It stems from a person's laziness. Right? By the way, it's not just Hillel, just to be fair. It's a lot of people in the generation. But again, there's those two options. Either pure nihilism, I'm going to get so drunk and high that I laugh when people ask me serious questions, or I will rationalize and come up with excuses as to why I do what I do. So here we go. Page 40, we're diving in. Zakta Ramchal. However, if you question this indolent person, he will answer you with numerous quotations from sages and scriptures, with intellectual arguments. I said it before. Like, you ever met a 15, 16-year-old atheist? If I believe in God and God is real and he's not just a figment of my imagination, then maybe that God wants something of me and I actually have to put an effort and energy and do something with my life. So therefore, I said that God doesn't exist, right? So when you meet the atheist who's 16 years old, who never read a book, who couldn't even tell you what social Darwinism is, and yet this person seems to have figured out that in all the cosmos and all the galaxies, there's no God. It's a very far way to go to be able to get yourself off the hook from the reality that there's a creator who might or might not want something of you. You know what I mean? So, and this person, the one he's describing, is somebody who will even use the Jewish sources, right? What's important? I don't learn Torah because ain't Torah ain't Kemach. You know the Mishnah that says that you can't learn unless you're working. So I go in and work my whole life so that I don't spend any time learning those people. That permits him, in accordance with his faulty reasoning, to be lenient and allow him to be in comfort of his indolence. That's why, by the way, you need a Rebbe also, somebody who could call you out on your garbage. You know what I mean? If you're the highest authority, we talk about this in Chovas HaTalmidim, when you're the only one who's like monitoring your behavior and the only standards you live to are the ones that you make up for yourself, then you're living a life where there is no accountability. You get to do whatever you want to do, right? And you get to say like, oh, or my favorite. What I need in life is what I want. You know, it's like a 3-year-old who doesn't know that like what you want is not always what you need. No, but it's like whatever I need is what I want, right? Because if I need to do something that's a little bit requires a little bit of energy and effort, I can't do that because I'm the world's laziest person who's just taking up oxygen in the ozone. So yet he fails to see that these arguments and explanations are not even derived through balanced reasoning. Rather, they originate from his indolence. And this is amazing. Like I said, if a person suffers from laziness or they're lethargic, that means what it will do, it will sprout. It will create such a defense mechanism which requires so much energy and effort. And that's sort of the funny part. You know, you ever look at a kid and it's just like, wow, if you used your talent for good, you would accomplish so much. And yet you use all your energy and effort, to talk smack about people all day, right? It's like, whew, with that mouth. The amount of lashon hara you talk, you're so good at it. If you use those skills for something productive, you can build something beautiful. That's exactly how the Yetzer works. They take the things that we're good at and they use it against us, including the rational mind. Halavai. Rather, okay, those who dominate over influence his mind and his intellect regarding them. This in turn prevents him from listening to the voices of the wise men of sound reasoning. And this is, by the way, he's going to talk about the shield. And this I want to really, really talk about because I said how the antidote is having a Rebbe. A Rebbe is someone who's going to press you. They're gonna push through, and they're not going to get you off the hook if you have a bunch of bull garbage, right? But this is the type of person who, if I'm the independent authority, then no advice or direction or mussar that anyone else is going to offer me is going to affect me. Because at the end of the day, it's what I say that matters. This is what Shlomo Melech cried out in Mishnah. He says, the indolent person is wiser in his own eyes than the 7 sages who sit before the king. And just think about somebody. Do you know anybody your age who amazing, 17 years old, and they just happen to know everything? Everything. Like they know everything. There's nothing you can talk to them about that they just know it all. It's incredible. At young 17 years old, they have beat Chat GPT because they have all the information in the entire world. And in their own eyes, they are wiser than the 70 sages. There's nothing for anyone else to offer me. No, come on. Come on. Mashiach. Yeah, you've never met those kids who just know everything. They can never be wrong. They just have the
Yeah, literally no.
What do you mean no?
I could think of 20 kids off the top of my head who just
What?
like
No, but nobody knows everything.
I'm clearly being a little
He's
dramatic
saying
here.
kids that say they know everything.
Not even that
Kids
admit
who
they know
actually
everything.
know.
Not no one walks around and says I know everything. I'm talking about the type of people that no one else like they believe in their heart. They're not open-minded.
Okay, me.
No, okay, you're missing the point. I'm talking about people. I'm talking about people who, in their eyes, right, there is no wisdom. There's no wisdom that can come across from somebody to give them advice or direction or influence. I just know the rights and wrongs. I'm not going out to seek other people's advice. I don't go out and to pursue wisdom. There's certain people who they're like, oh my God, I can search podcasts on Spotify. I can look at TED Talks. If there's a topic I'm interested in, I can go out and learn about it and take in wisdom. Not those people. People who just say, like, I have my opinion and I believe that, and they argue. Those people that get into arguments and like, you have no idea what you're talking about. And they get into those arguments and they're so passionate about their opinion. And it's like, you really have no idea what you're talking about. And they won't back down. They won't relent. They will not stop, and they can never, ever say, like, I guess you're right. I guess I don't know much. Those are the type of people. And I am so sure, since you go to Hillel also, you're surrounded by them every day. They're just like us. They go shopping. They park their own cars. You get the point. His indolence doesn't even give him the opportunity to ponder the words of those who rebuke him. Rather, he considers them to all be misguided and foolish, he alone being the wise one. If I could give you some of the best advice you can ever get, I mean, it's not my advice, it comes from Chazal, but we have Yisrael Salanter, you should love Musar. You should love it. You should love rebuke. You should love when people come and want to give you constructive criticism is the greatest thing. It is a standard for successful people, but it's something that you should definitely want. Because if a person is not open to ever getting any feedback, that anytime someone wants to share with them something that they're doing wrong or something that could be perceived as negative, they just get super defensive and they make you seem like you're the crazy person. These are the type of people, right? Again, he's making a strong, strong connection between those meters and laziness. If truth obligates, then I make my own truth. It's that simple. If truth obligates, I have to go out and search and find where there's truth in the world, and that dictates me to do something. Because once you know it, you got to live by it, right? Then I just make my own truth. And if I make my own truth, then there's zero accountability whatsoever. I make my own truth. I live by my standards, and I do what I want. Everyone knows people like this. And by the way, it's not all or nothing. So you don't have people who are like extreme. This is all them. It's a spectrum. It works in a spectrum. Sometimes we are guilty of this. Sometimes we will do these things. You know what I mean? I'm obviously using the extreme dramatic OD version so that you get the point. Yeah, Mashiach.
So is this like a bad thing? Like you're talking, this is like a bad trait that people have?
That's a horrible trait. It's a horrible trait.
Yeah.
For someone to make their own truth that's in contrary to reality. Again, let's back it up a bit. We're talking about lazy people. We're talking about the indolent, right? Somebody who to themselves that they are going to live. They are their own God, if you really want to call it that way, right? God is of no concern to me because God wants me to do certain things. Forget that. I'm out, right? I want to do what I want to do. I want to do whatever's comfortable for me, whatever I want to do in this current moment. So I'm going to create a structure of intellectual thought and morality that's going to allow me and justify me to do what I want to do, right? Again, why is there 15 and 16-year-old children who consider themselves to be atheists while they don't know anything about God or science for that matter? They know nothing. Why? What? There's an agenda. I don't want God to exist, therefore I say that he doesn't exist. And it comes from a place of laziness. Now, on the other end of that, why is that? Because I don't want to be obligated. I don't want to be obligated to do anything. I am a lazy person. I want to sit on my bum and do nothing all day, or rather, I just want to do what I want to do. I cannot have an higher independent authority out there in the ether somewhere who is going to dictate that I should do what I want to do. That's why a lot of these kids have a problem with their parents, right? Ugh, I just, they like parents just bought them like a brand new like BMW, and they get home every day and they're just fetching every time their parents ask them to do a chore. Of course, the laziest of the laziest, Hillel, basically, going back to it again. But yeah, if why would someone reject rebuke, right? If an advisor came over to a kid and said, like, by the way, I noticed something. I want to, share a little feedback with you. What happened there earlier. If a person's not down for that, I don't want to hear it. I'm not interested in what other people. What's at the root of that? The Ramchal saying that what's at the root of that is laziness, because any sort of rebuke you're going to get is calling to you to make a correction, a change. It's causing you to exert emotional or physical effort to do something. And I don't want to do anything. I want to sit and I want to TikTok my entire life till I die. That's all I want to do. So if anyone's coming along that wants to make me do something I don't want to do, what he's saying is that stems from laziness. Now, the worst thing in the world is when you pile arrogance on top of the laziness, arrogance on top of the, again, all the effort you're putting in. If you use that effort productively, you can build cities, you change the world. But instead, I'm using all my talent to create all these, intricate and exciting and creative excuses to why I shouldn't do anything in life other than what I want to do. So yes, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. You should also know that's a very important and tested rule that relates to the abstinence from evil. Every leniency needs to be examined. Although it may appear reasonable and sound, the chances that the mechanisms of the evil inclination are behind it. Therefore, one must subjugate it to analysis and investigation. If it passes all these tests, then surely it's good. Um, Again, he's talking about the meticulousness of halacha as well. If a person really cares, and I will give a shout out here to one Sir Adina, because she and by the way, I was totally like it was laziness. It was laziness and also like you asked me about Netilas Yadayim. I've never seen anyone so fired up to understand the halachas of what is a bracha levatala of Netilas Yadayim. I'm like thinking like this is the least exciting thing I could ever learn in my life. Do I gotta start diving through the Mishnah Brewer right now? I'm happy you found some answers because again,
I
like
got a few answers, but I'm
She
still
asked
a
every
tiny bit
single,
confused.
she
I respect
interrogated every single rabbi I check out.
amazing. All two of them. I
Uh,
respect
you're the
that
third.
like again like for me I know it was my laziness like I was just like oh my God like I'm a hashkafic rabbi ask me ponder life with me don't ask me about to dive into the different shitas of Netilas Yadayim. I'm like gonna lose my mind over here. So anyway, but I will give you a shout out. I think that was awesome. You see?
I'll be all that dived into it too. Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah. All I know is like how you mitigate it. You just don't talk. You know, just keep your mouth shut, and you're totally fine. But yeah, I'm
Thanks.
saying like, so what he's saying is also, if a person wants to take it to the next level, it's a spectrum. It's not like a person's totally lazy for yourself as well. In your avodas Hashem, how much energy and effort do you put to be meticulous within, matters of halacha and things like that? So, based on where a person's level is, where they're holding in general, but the principles are all good. In summation, a person needs great reinforcement to strengthen himself to preserve with alacrity in the fulfillment of mitzvahs. This will be accomplished when he throws off his lethargic indolence that restrains him. It's very okay. It's very it requires a lot of energy and effort, and it's common sense to say the thing that defeats laziness is zrizus because it's the exact opposite. You know what I mean? It's like for Zahiros, like spacing out, not paying attention, not being present, not being in the moment. Same thing with Zrizus. If Zrizus is moving fast, it directly, and it's one of those things when we talked about Sur Meira Tov, right? Turn from evil and do good. This is one of those midos that inherently it's one and the same. If a person works on their Zrizus, they are automatically counteracting their laziness. The lethargic piece is a little bit more deadly and destructive. But that's something also that a person says, okay, am I not putting my best foot forward? Am I putting in all my effort? At least for myself to know the things that I do care about, right? It's very hard to make a case to say, okay, you should try on things you don't care about. I can't stand school, but I have to do, okay, so I get by. C's get degrees. I'm okay with that. That's fine. Versus your avodas Hashem, when you're like, hey, I want to actually be, the best yid and Eved Hashem that I can be. Okay, so if that's something you care about, are we lethargic in those areas as well? So note that the angels were exalted for this positive virtue, as it says about them in Tehillim, those courageous in strength who do his bidding and obey the voice of his word. And it says the creatures of the angels run back and forth like streaks of lightning. It's really cool, actually. We're going to talk about this Shabbos that the body originates from the ground and its midas to be dormant, and the soul, the neshama, comes from the higher realm. And in that realm, an angel who has no physicality and is all spirituality streak back and forth like lightning. That is the nature of the spiritual. That's the nature of the neshama. It desires its motivation. It wants to always be growing and moving. Right? Get held back by the body element. And although a person is just a person and not an angel, he cannot obtain the level of this angelic valor. He should try his best to bring himself closer to the elevation of the angels, as David Melech said, Ever grateful for his portion, says, I hasten and did not delay to keep your mitzvahs. By the way, the irony is really cool if you think about it. We're compared to angels on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, you'll see that there's a lot of zrizas when it comes to all Yidden. Like no matter where you are in the spectrum, like people will wake up and they'll come to shul early and they'll sit there and they'll act with zrizas when it comes to Yom Kippur. So I'm sure there's a correlation there between the angels. Okay, so as a summary of what we're talking about with Zrizis, again, as we said last week, that the way to perform the mitzvahs is Zrizim Makdim mitzvahs. And if you think about it, right, the challenge to the neshama, when we look about like everything is Mida Keneged Mida, the neshama is put there, the guf is the worthy adversary that tries to like drag you down. The most dangerous thing in the world is when the guf, when the plight of the neshama against the guf, and that laziness is empowered by ego. When that happens, okay, again, you want to ruin your life forever and always. When that ego combines with laziness, you're talking about the most deadly destruction because a person will never ever be makabel any musar. They will not allow any rebuke, any sort of corrective advice or guidance. They will block it all out. They will become the independent authority in their minds, and nothing will phase them. They will live their life according to where they're living. And being lazy is not just something that will affect your avodas Hashem, while being probably most important, but again, work ethic. Like in my eyes, one of the most desirable thing about hiring a person, you want to get the promotion, you want to, do well in terms of a career, work ethic. Your work ethic is determined by that. Let's talk about your family. If a person is a lazy spouse, if you're a lazy wife or a lazy husband or a lazy parent, if you think that you're again like a lazy person, then he has children. All of a sudden now in your adulthood, you're going to be now a non-lazy person. It's something you're conditioning yourself to be. You want to be a really average or below average parent. You're going to be lazy. You're not going to take when your kid needs you for something or wants your attention or your time. You're going to be schlepping your feet. I'm telling you, it will affect every area of your life. And that's why, again, there's so much emphasis here, especially in the beginning. It's not just about your avodas Hashem, it's every element in your life. You want to be successful, you cannot be a lazy, good for nothing bum. So let's break down now. We're up to chapter 7. Let's break down, let's do a couple of pages here, breaking down the elements of Zrizas and talk about its practical application now that we have sort of the overview, the hashkafa of it all here. Chapter 7. Okay, so Zrizas consist of two elements. One that relates to the period prior to the commencement of the deed, and the other that relates to the period that follows the commencement of the deed. So, number one is its inception, right? How you begin a mitzvah, how you begin an opportunity. How quickly are you to, I gave the mushal of the tefillin box, because I always think like, how far away am I? Will that guy get there before me? Right? When there is an opportunity, right? If someone walks in and they go, can someone help me? I got 1 minute. I gotta finish my game, Fortnite. Or does somebody hop off the couch and run across the room, right? When the opportunity exists, boom, I act right away. That's the first element of Zrizos. The second that I perceive that there's an opportunity, boom, I go. Number two is, okay, great. I started 7 million projects and I didn't finish any of them. Haha. The second one is, after the commencement of the deed, how do you schlep that out? And those people who are like always first to volunteer, but they take forever to like finish and come through. So that's the second element. Does that make sense? Right? Two very much related, but two different elements. Haha. What do we got here? Chayas. Where is she? All right. Listen, all for the ratings. Let's do it. Um, where's T Dog? Do, 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 do. Okay. So, so the former meaning that prior to commencing the mitzvah, a person may not delay in its performance. Rather, when the time arrives, or when its opportunity for fulfill presents itself, when it enters his mind, he must act speedily without delay to seize the mitzvah and to do it. He must not procrastinate at this time, for no danger is graver than this. Every new moment can bring something new and new hindrances to the fulfillment of the good deed, right? Missed opportunity. The moment is gone. We had a girl sign up, okay, two friends to Lion Launch. One signed up Thursday night. The other one was like, oh, I'm gonna talk to my parents tomorrow. Oh, whatever. Check that. Signed up Saturday night. Boom, no tickets left. Sold out Friday. Just slept on it for one day and it was over. Right? There are, there's a huge waiting list for the Impact Shoppaton this weekend. It's just like, oh, but I was going to sign up, but you didn't. You did not. Okay. Han Shappaton opened up right now. Right. Be a hero. Go sign up right now. Shout out to Dasi, who is number one. So the second the opportunity presents itself, they don't last for long. People who are lazy will pass up golden opportunities in their lives. The things that I should have said, the phone calls I should have made, the opportunities that I should have taken. Those things, when those pass you by, I'm going to dive into a medrash. I'll go off a little bit just because last week's Parsha, we mentioned him. And I want to give that shout out to the medrash. Chushin ben Dun, the son of Dun. Did I share this already? Am I no? Okay. Chushin ben Dun. Chushin was the only son of Dun. It's actually the shortest pasuk in the Torah with letters, 3 words. Chushin ben Dun. That's the entire pasuk. Anyway, so Chushin was the son of Dan. So he was the grandson of Yaakov, and Yaakov was Nifter. He was being carried out, brought back to the Marat Machpelah. And when they got to the Marat Machpelah and they were waiting there, who was standing in front blocking the entrance? It was none other than Esav, Yaakov's brother, who was standing in front with his sword drawn, saying, "Sorry, can't bury him. You don't have ownership to this land." And now the way that the procession went, it was the most important people, followed by these people, these people, these people. So the brothers get there. They go, what are you doing? We have to bother our father. We have to bury our father. He's sitting out there baking in the sun. Now, Mace Mitzvah, in Jewish people, you got to bury someone right away. You can't delay whatsoever. So they're sitting there having these conversations. And now the back ones, the rest of the procession is coming up. And the grandsons, the grandchildren start to come up. And along comes young Chushin. Chushin walks up. Now, granted, he has never met Asa before in his life. He has no idea who he is. He gets up there and he looks around. And what does he see? He sees his grandfather sitting in the hot sun, baking away, not being buried in the Marat Machpelah, which they're standing in front of. And furthermore, right, what do the brothers do? They say, "Oh, we need the deed," right? Esau's like, "Show me the deed. Show me that you own this." So what do? They send back Naphtali to run back to Egypt to get the deed because he's the fastest guy, like the Justice League, right? So Naphtali is running back. They're having this whole conversation. They're Hushin comes up and just goes, he looks, and upon seeing what he sees and the disrespect to his grandfather, he takes out his sword, runs up, and beheads Esav. Esav's head falls down, rolls into the Marat Machpelah, and that's how Esav died. Yes, Chayesuri.
Is there not like a midrash that he was blind and he was just like walking around with a sword and like boop off your head?
Nope. Nope.
Okay, then I'm actually crazy.
No, you're not crazy. You're not crazy. It was close. I mean, it's wildly.
I mean, she is crazy.
Wildly described.
No.
I mean, you're just like, this most like un-PC thing you could ever say. He was actually deaf, and to think that deaf and blind,
I didn't know.
Yeah,
Like
to
that, I knew it was one of them.
blind people is incredibly offensive, and you should be ashamed.
I'm sorry.
But beyond that, so yeah, he was deaf, and he wasn't swinging his sword wildly around. Here's the most unbelievable thing: Esav is the Yetzer Hara, right? The power of the Yetzer Hara is to tap into the laying of time. Zrizos is a function of time, right? Matzah becomes chametz with the ingredient of time. Matzah stands for mitzvah. Chametz is chet. Mitzvahs become chet when they're delayed because of zriza makdim lemitzvos. He gets there, and what was his superpower? The fact that he was deaf. He didn't give a voice and an ear to the Yetzer Hara. He sprung into action, beheaded the guy, and the second that his head was rolling around on the floor, the brothers looked around and said, "What the heck were we doing? We're sitting here just letting our grandfather sit here while there's because we got into this conversation. We started to talk and start to have a back and forth about different. The worst thing you can do is give the Yetzer Hara an ear. When a mitzvah presents itself right away, you have to act right away. The worst thing you can do is, but maybe it's not so bad. Then you're done. Think about it. I love the example. Iskaber Kari, that the Shulchan Aruch says we should rise out of bed in the morning like a lion. You say Moda'ani, you hop out of bed. Why? Because how many of us you wake up and you snooze, and then you sleep for 9 minutes. Why 9 minutes? And you can't change how long in these iPhones. I never understand. Whatever. So you sleep for 9 minutes and you snooze, and then you sleep for 9 minutes again, and it's annoying because now it's like, oh, it's 7:20. Now it's 7:29. right? And now then again it's 7:38, whatever. So you keep snoozing it, and what do you end up doing? You're wasting your way. You're not getting good sleep. You're not getting up. So you're literally not getting the best of both worlds. You're ruining yourself. Yiskaber kari means the second that you wake up, you say modani, you physically hop out of bed. Why? Because the worst thing you can do is that little thought of, would it be so bad to get 4 more minutes of sleep? Then you're done. That is the working of the Yetzer Hara. Again, it's a metaphor. We all struggle, getting out of bed. I didn't get out of bed this morning, so but we all struggle with that. But that's what the Yetzer Hara does. They want to have conversations about it. They want to start to think. I want to think. I want to talk. I want to rationalize. I want to get into this whole. And then you start saying, the truth, it was so obvious to me. It made so much sense what I should do. And now I made myself crazy because I started to think about it. When you know that something is right, you go and you do. There's no more thinking, no more talking. You shut your ears like Hushin, you go for it right away. If you give a voice, you lend an ear to the Yetzer Hara, that's the moment where it starts to dissect you from the inside out. That's how you fight the Yetzer Hara. So it says like this, exactly, without delay. He must not procrastinate. Rather, when the time arrives, when the opportunity to fulfill the mitzvah presents itself or enters his mind, he must react speedily without delay to seize the mitzvah and to do it. He must not procrastinate at this time, for no danger is greater than this. Why is there no danger greater than this? Because now you have given power to the Yetzer Hara. You have opened the door to allow the Yetzer Hara into your life and your life experience, and now you will sit there contemplating. And it's very easy. If you're looking for, if the Yetzer Hara wants, you can find anything in the world to remove yourself from your responsibilities. Yeah. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
I don't know why we're on two phones. Genuinely.
She
Okay.
needed
Can
space.
you hear me? Can you hear her now? Okay. So wait, where are you? Okay. Okay, so I have a question. Basically, you said to like go you said to go like into the whatever, like go fast, like go fast one time, like being lazy, you guys do whatever. But what if something seems as good, and then like you go into it so fast and you go, oh, maybe that wasn't the best thing for me. Like, you go into it too fast. Do you know what I'm saying? Like in my ear.
I mean, what could be? We're talking about really the day to day. We're not talking about like, oh my God, someone came with an opportunity to like go off and learn for 6 years in a foreign country. Like we're talking about like simple mitzvahs that like there's an opportunity in front of you. I feel like if you're a well-developed person, you can kind of have a sense, that if something it has some sort of danger for me. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, I pulled up on the freeway and there's a homeless guy in the bushes. Let me hop out of my car and by myself and run over there to go see if he needs change of clothing. For the most part, we can get a sense of what's right and what's wrong for us. If something requires you to ask Eitzah, like ask advice from your mentor or to think about it, right? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about when you clearly can define that there's a mitzvah, an
Like
opportunity.
black and white.
Now, for whatever reason you do act with Zrizos, there's a mitzvah, you act and then you end up getting burnt by it. You'd rather be the type of person that gets burned by things like that, right? Hashem is going to protect you from those things, right? You're when you're a shliach, when you're on your way to do a mitzvah, Hashem is issue some level of protection. But you'd rather be someone who accidentally went, oh man, I made an oopsie, versus somebody who passes up opportunities because there's the thought that it might be. But if it's something that's significant that needs
Oh yeah,
thought,
I'm gonna send you a bunch of
that's
like
not what
both.
I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Zrizos with like, oh my God, which seminary should I go to? Oh, the first one that came, they teach Chumash. Ah, perfect. I love Chumash. Right? If it requires you to have a conversation with someone, obviously not. No. But for the most part, we know what's good and what's not good for us. And we're talking about just easy mitzvahs that come our way, basic things. That said to others, but for ourselves as well, avoda, things like that. You know. All right, let's go a little bit more weiter. Our sages of blessed memory awaken us to this truth in reference to Shlomo's coronation. David said to Benyahu, oh my God. Shlomo said to, I say it in the and Benayahu. Good. For my transliteration. And you should take him down to Gichon. And Ben Yahu responded, Amen, it should be with the Eternal's consent. They of blessed memory said, Rav Pinchas asked in the name of Rabbi Chanan ben Tzipor, but it hadn't already stated, a son will be born to you, David will be a man of peace, reference Shlomo. We therefore deduce from here that Ben Yahu's response implied that many implements may yet arise between here and Gichon. Okay, so again, this is a in-depth, be'iyun over Navi and stuff like that. The intricates of holding up from doing a mitzvah when you have an opportunity. As a result of their concern that a mitzvah might be delayed, the sages of blessed memory forewarned us, saying, "You should watch over the matzahs. Do not procrastinate when a mitzvah, a play on the word matzah, comes your way." That's what I said before. Mitzvah is matzah, and what is chametz? Chametz is chet, and the ingredient that makes matzah into chametz is none other than time itself. And I did share why Bichipazon, and that we are a people of. I mean, Pesach is the holiday of time. There's a lot of different things when it comes to time when it comes to Pesach, but that's the general idea. Bechipazon with Zrizus, right? Zrizus Magdim Mitzvos. It's all connected in that sense. And they said in Gemara Baba Kama, one should always deal promptly with matters pertaining to mitzvahs, for in return for the one night in which the elder daughter of Lot was quicker than the younger, she preceded her into Israel, and she was rewarded by 4 generations of royalty. And thus it says, if you're familiar with the story, right, the one sister who was more proactive, those with alacrity fulfill the mitzvahs promptly. And further, they said, one should always run to perform a mitzvah, even on Shabbos. And the Midrash, as it says, he will guide us, al mus. With Zrizas, its benefits, its young maidens, as it says, in the midst there are young maidens playing the timbrels. Yeah. Basically, different sources that highlight the midah of Zrizos, that a person should be able to act with alacrity and do the things that they need to do. Good. We'll finish this first element here, and then we'll stop. Zrizus is indeed the virtue of immense perfection when man's nature prevents him from obtaining completely in the here and now. He who overcomes his nature and seizes this virtue of Zrizus with all of its ability will truly be granted in the future. The Creator, may his name be blessed, will present it to him as a reward, in reward for his effort in pursuing it during his service to his Creator. Basically, I may have asked him after 120 when we get to Olam Haba and a person is heftily rewarded for their service down here. What's the litmus test? What God judges in effort. What is effort if not for Zerisus? What is the ultimate thing? What can you look at that's a better indicator? That's a better indicator of effort than Zerisus. If a person cares or puts in their energy and their effort, they will show up on time. They will be there first. They'll take opportunities. That's really how you can measure effort. So essentially, right, it's a person's Zerisus that will directly impact where they stand after they die. And as I said, in general, you want to be the type of person that takes opportunities. When there's an opportunity in front of you, do not delay. If you know that song, don't put off till tomorrow something you can do today. Not the right cover, whatever. That's ultimately what it is. So that's the first element. The first element is when an opportunity presents itself, boom, grab life by the horns, take advantage of it as you possibly can. I think, by the way, less people struggle with this than they do the latter. I think a lot more people struggle. I mean, you see that. New Year's resolutions, everyone's going to the gym. By January 10th, no one's in the gym. So I think most people have an easier time, getting that like jump start, Everyone's coming to Shabbatones in August. Woo! I mean, God, we got most of the bus showing up for a Tisha B'Av event, Like if that's not it's easier to go out and start it. The challenging thing is, and I think that's the difference between physical laziness and being lethargic. Physical laziness, I don't want to get started. Okay, so that's how you work on that Zerizus, getting up in the morning. Lethargic, when a person has, when a person is lethargic, that is the second answer. How am I going about my business once I'm already into it? Okay, so I'm at shul. Great, I showed up for davening. Now what do you do? Right, that's the question there. So we'll continue with that, God willing, next week. Very much looking forward. And again, homework is obvious. These ideas are not meant to be entertaining. These ideas are meant to be empowering. Once you understand the concept, they should enter your mind. When you see an opportunity to do something, and that little voice is going, oh, I'm so kill that. Kill it. No. Bad. Get to work. Zruzah Magdim Lemitzvos. Shkayach. Thank you guys for coming from Tennessee. It's beautiful. So any questions tonight? from the Olam. Guys, keep spreading the light.
She has many.
I have, but it's not related to this at
Oh, okay.
all.
Okay, the random nonsense questions. So let's stop the recording and then
They're
we'll.
not nonsense, but
No,
they are
that was it. I
nonsense.
meant relevant. That's what I meant. Anyway.